Hello everyone. In one of my previous episodes I did a quick look at the Zappi charger and the installation using it on a BMW i3, but as I've got my Kona in the last week or so, it's time to have a bit more of a closer look at the functionality of the Zappi, and this time I'll be using it on my Kona. For those of you watching for the first time, the Zappi is a smart device that can charge an EV using grid power, solar power, or a combination of both. So it's very easy to use. Basically just plug it in and let the Zappi and the EV communicate. And essentially, if you've configured your Zappi settings to your liking, you can leave it to do its own thing. It's my understanding that EVs don't charge under 6 amps, which means when drawing from 240 volt power supply, that equates to 1.4 kilowatts. So anything under that, the Zappi is paused until it gets that 1.4 kilowatts worth of power. So what you can see here is the Eco Plus setting, and at the moment my house is generating 3 kilowatts of solar. It's using around about 1.2, 1.3 kilowatts, and the rest is going back to the grid. As I mentioned before, it's waiting for around about 1.4, 1.5 kilowatts to be in excess, but I've got another little setting that I'll make sure that 200 watts are kept in reserve. So it's really looking for around about 1.7, 1.8 before it will start diverting that power into the EV. Watch now as my pool pump turns off and the surplus power spikes, triggering the surplus to go into the EV. There is a setting for how long it takes once there is a surplus detected before it diverts into the EV, and mine's set to 10 seconds. And now the energy is flowing into the Kona at about 1.9 to 2 kilowatts. But I have my pool filter set to change from one setting to another at around about 9 AM. And in a moment, what we'll see is the house consumption jump back up to 1.2, 1.3, but enough solar has been generated and the overall house consumption is low enough to allow the Kona to keep charging. So the Zappi manages to do this without any supervision, does it all by itself. And just a quick look inside the car at what's happening, showing the same values on the dash, and pretty significant remaining time there when you're charging at a pretty slow speed. Just a reminder, we're only diverting the solar into the car at the moment. We're not requesting it to be any faster than what the solar's getting generated, but yeah, because it's such a big battery, it's 26 hours. So here's another quick example. The washing machine, the dishwasher, and other various appliances were on in the house, and the house started using 3.5 kilowatts. That actually meant that there was no surplus, therefore the Zappi went on pause, and here is a few minutes later when the house consumption dropped again and the Zappi starts putting the energy back into the EV. Alright, so you may be now wondering what else can the Zappi do. So other than just diverting your solar export into the car, it can also be set to top up the export if it doesn't reach that 1.4 kilowatts by using some of the grid. And here we can see that on the screen now. It's drawing a little bit from the grid as well as diverting some of the solar. This can be good to guarantee that the car is charged. The other thing we can do is fast charge it, and we can draw on the full 32 amps of power. That's around about maximum 7.5 kilowatts, probably a little bit more, but guarantee about 7.2, 7.3. And just remember there are onboard chargers within the vehicle, so sometimes that's limited by that. Let's just have a quick look at some of the settings. We can go into the charge log, and that will show us our totals, whether we want to have a look at a day, a week, a month, or the total, even a year. And you can see my total is 77 kilowatts used in the last couple of weeks. Then there's the event log. This basically just tells you when the car was charged and when it was disconnected, that type of thing. We've got the reading screen. Now this tells you very specifically all your voltages and exactly what your Zappy's doing. Very good if you're technically minded. The information screen is for the software, firmware, serial number, that type of stuff. And for connecting to the hub, you need this screen. Screen 4 has just got the battery link information. I don't have any linked devices. The Eco Plus setting allows you to set the minimum amount of solar or wind export, and also here is where you set the start-stop delay I mentioned earlier. The manual boost allows you to put in a predetermined quantity of kilowatt hours. The smart boost is for users that want to ensure a particular amount of energy is being put in, allowing for the variability of renewable energy. This feature also allows the time of day that the energy needs to be delivered by. The boost time is useful for those that have cheaper tariff times across the week. Set the timer and get a bit of extra energy during those later hours. Alright, so just a couple more items. Next we're going into the advanced settings, selecting supply grid. This is where the export margin can be set to ensure you don't exceed what is actually being produced. You can see that I've set mine to 250 watts. Link devices, that allows you to see the Harvey or the Eddy if you have those installed. CT inputs is used to set up the clamps and relates to the figures on the front screen. And that's just about it for the menus. Alright, let's just have a quick look at PV output from just a few days ago. This red line here is my energy use and the green is the solar. So you can see up until 6:30 in the morning, pretty much still asleep, and the solar is just about to come online. I have my pool filter set for around about an 8 o'clock turn on. So that actually goes in a line like across here, and then it turns off over at 3 o'clock. So that's really my baseline, but as you can see about 9 o'clock I've got my Kona plugged in to the Zappi, and it automatically just detects that it's got that 1.4 kilowatt extra surplus, and then it just puts all the surplus in up until 12:05 where I need to go out, and I unplug the charger. It goes back to the feed-in tariff, just going back to the grid, and then I come home, plug in again for a short period. Then I think the Zappi runs out of surplus and stops charging the Kona. And lastly, we have what you're hoping to see, and that's 100% charge, the final screen with the little finish symbol. Well, I hope you found this introduction to the Zappi charger helpful. Thank you for watching again, and I'll catch you on the next one.